Welcome to the Competitive 40K podcast, brought to you by Vanguard Tactics. 40K Codex analysis, list building, strategy development, game theory, mentoring. Our mission, to help you become a better player and to raise the level of the game both on and off the tabletop. Here's your host, Stephen Box.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode number 13, and we have got an incredible show lined up for you today because we're going to be talking all things Deathwatch. We're going to be covering the new Codex supplement that is just dropped. We're going to look at some of the combinations and how powerful this army might come to pass, or come to be, should I say, over the next sort of few months. And it's going to be really interesting to see how these tricks and combinations are all going to stack in, some of the things to look out for, some of the things to watch, and also consider if you're building a Deathwatch army, along with maybe some of the ways that you can outplay and beat the Deathwatch as well. Obviously, this is mine and Jack's first impressions, and I'm joined by Jack. So how you doing, Jack?
Steve, I'm all good. I'm excited to talk about the Deathwatch. It's looking like a great Codex supplement, and I think it hit the ball out of the park with this one.
When they said Deathwatch are getting a new Codex soon, I never imagined it would be this good.
Yeah, it's. I think it's really interesting on the first couple of reads. There's a lot of depth to it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's just so much sort of combinations that I'm already sort of spotting. So, Jack, I'm going to hand this show over to you, mate. You can be the interviewer today, and I'm going to put myself in the hot seat as I've spent a long time reading through these codexes. Now, bear in mind, guys, I may miss a couple of things. I might be incorrect, as obviously it's a brand new book. However, I won't be looking to try and cheat the system in any way, and I'll always kind of bring in my thoughts as to maybe some of the intent on some of this stuff as well, because there are a couple of things missing, which I will cover. But yeah, Jack, over to you, mate.
Okay, all right. Let's start from the beginning. Deathwatch has a special place in the VT heart, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, just a little bit. Just a little bit, I suppose. This was kind of before people really knew me as like a Blood Angel player. Deathwatch was the first ever army in which I kind of, not my first army, but it was the army that got me back into the hobby, back during 7th edition, very late end 7th, and we really started playing in 8th. And it was a Deathwatch app that I found on my phone that I started playing. I was doing a lot of my bodybuilding prep, and I was spending endless amounts of time on my treadmill to try and obviously lose body fat for the shows. And I just grabbed the app, started playing it, and then all of a sudden I was hooked back in Warhammer again. So for me, Deathwatch was the army that got me back into the game. And then also, I went to a tournament in which I launched the VT YouTube channel off, basically, didn't I? And it was with my Deathwatch army.
Yeah, and if anyone's wondering who's responsible for the veterans, the kill teams with Storm Bolters and Storm Shields, this is the man.
Yeah, I think I started a movement.
They popped up everywhere after that live stream on the at the GW, didn't they?
Yeah, because I had 3 units at the time. I had a Crass Knight, I had some Guard, and then I had 3 units of 10 kill teams, all with Storm Bolter, Storm Shields, and I was playing against a good friend Lawrence Baker from obviously Tabletop Tactics, so big shout out to him. We had a fantastic game on the live stream, and I can remember the commentators at one point in the game. Lawrence had moved his Talos in his movement phase, but I'd positioned them in such a range where I could use a stratagem in which I could shoot him in his turn. And the guys at the stream were like, I'm not sure, I think we're back into Steve's shooting phase for some reason. They had no clue what I was doing. Yeah. And then I think they even said, I think Deathwatch sales are going to be skyrocketing after this game. So that was kind of how it, I think, kicked off really for me.
Yeah, I was sat at home, and it was a very enjoyable game to watch, that one. It's really enjoyed it, and it put Deathwatch on the map. So kudos to you on that. So why choose Deathwatch? There's lots of talk about Space Marines and that, and they're very strong. But what kind of play style and abilities that make them unique, and what would make you think about Deathwatch as the the chapter for me.
I mean, first of all, the aesthetic is incredible. Just like black armor, the shiny silver shoulder pad, and obviously each one. What I liked about it was, I suppose it was like the chapter's best warriors went to the Deathwatch. So there was kind of that appeal to it for me. So from a sort of aesthetics, even lore, may I go that far? Throw that word out there. Kind of really appealed to me. But in terms of why are they unique? Well, obviously now. They get full access, or I'm going to say pretty much full access, to the entire Space Marine book, in which they didn't before. They were very limited, but now it's like the doors have massively opened up. But the biggest thing that they get, which I think is very different compared to all other Space Marine chapters, is, probably 4 key things. The first one is their mission tactic, in which it's kind of like their super doctrine. They can choose what doctrine they want to be in, when they want to be in it.
Yeah, there's some limitations about how many times you can use each one, isn't there?
Yeah, so the skill level required for that is brilliant. Absolutely love that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that they can form kill teams. Now, a kill team is a mixed unit, so rather than just having intercessors and rather than just having Vanguard veterans, you can amalgamate a unit to have things like your veterans in, a Terminator, a Vanguard vet, and a bike in, and in lots of different combinations, which we're going to cover. So that was really, really unique, and they can kind of buff each other up a little bit, or you can rely on certain things from that unit to do certain job roles for you. So they're a very elite-based Space Marine army, if you could get more elite, but that's certainly what they are, is the elite of the elite. And then the next thing that they get is, and this has kind of been toned down a lot, I would say, probably because of Storm Bolters and the spam that was so powerful with them. And also now with obviously the doctrines that have come out, it would have got and then also the bolter discipline as well. A few things have happened since the time when I was spamming Storm Bolters, and this is with special issue ammunition, where you've got 4 options to pick from, and each of those can buff your weapon in a different sort of way for whatever scenario you're in. So that's the third thing, and then the last one is that the Deathwatch as a whole have got a really unique element where they're extremely good at killing Xenos, so they've got some very cool anti-Xenos stratagems. Like in many books and codexes, there is like that kind of that random stratagem in there, like when facing orcs or when facing Iron Hands, you get this ability. But the Deathwatch have something against Tau, they have something against Nids, they have something against Eldar, Orcs, so all the Xenos, they have an answer to it, which actually, when you're thinking about a tournament, and as we go over, I think the next 12 months, and as new codexes come out, we will see a lot more varied lists than just Marines, and I think all of a sudden, if you're at a 6-round event, you could be looking at 3, you could be up against 3 Xenos factions, you could be up against a Chaos in an Imperium, so in those Xenos matches, you're going to have an answer to some of those problems that you might find yourself in, so they're kind of, I think would say, is the main aspects, wouldn't you?
No, yeah, definitely. And the one thing that we've only kind of scratched the surface with is the access now to the Space Marine Codex and all the options that brings. There's going to be lots of interesting builds that will come from that, and hopefully there'll be lots of variety in competitive lists as well. That will enable for Deathwatch players and allow them to mix up their list rather than having, I think it's fair to say before, it was quite limited, your options, as you said, in terms of the overall army. So hopefully that'll keep it nice and fresh for you Deathwatch players out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the options now are just endless. Like, there are just so many possibilities. I've already found some ridiculous combos which we can sort of... it's one of those things. I'm in that stage of the game where I'm looking at it like, this could work, and then it's a case of picking a theme, going with it, and then building around it. So we can sort of dive into some of those later.
Yeah, I think the impression is you can have a lot of fun if you like list building with this book, because there's so many different options you can look at and themes and strategies that you could employ. I think you'll have great fun in that list building stage, finding your feet.
No, yeah, absolutely agree.
Okay, great. So the next thing I want to talk about in a bit more detail is actually the kill teams. If people are not familiar with Deathwatch, what is a kill team? How do you make them? Okay,
so kill teams are they can come about in a couple of different ways. So you've got the kill team where I mentioned earlier, where you can take a mixed unit, and there are different types in which you can take, and they've kind of created sort of themes for your kill teams. So there are 4 main kill teams. I might pronounce some of these incorrectly, so I'm not going to worry too much about the specific names. I'm going to give you the overall perspective. So you've got one kill team, which is your Deathwatch veterans, like your old school Marines, right? Your Deathwatch veterans, Terminators, a biker, and a Vanguard veteran. Now, each of these kill teams all share the same keywords, so they've done a really good job at tightening a lot of those things up. So, for example, they all become infantry, and they all get the core keyword, and they all get the troop keyword as well. So they're basically all OBSEC, and they have those, the Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Deathwatch keywords. So yeah, they've got a great amount of sort of utility in this as well. So yeah, it's one of those things in which you can take your sort of 5 main core bodies. So this is the Deathwatch veterans, for example, in this kill team, and then you can add any of the 5 following. So this is a Deathwatch biker, a Terminator, a Vanguard vet, and you could do 5 vets and 5 Terminators. You could do 1 of each. You could go up to 10. You could only take 7. I mean, you've got so many different options here. So that's the first one. The next one is called the Fortis kill team, and this is basically intercessors. They're your core, which you then have to take 5 of, and then you can add in any assault intercessors, outriders, hellblasters. The next one is like your kind of Gravis armor. So this is your 5 heavy intercessors is your base. You then can add in any amount of either aggressors, inceptors, or eradicators. And then the final one, which is your Spectorus, which is the infiltrators are your base, and then you've got incursors, reavers, and eliminators as the options for upgrades there.
Yeah, no. So I really like it. I think that the new model line in particular has helped Deathwatch out immensely. With the Eliminators, Outriders, Eradicators, Inceptors all looking good, and you can form them into these teams. So I'll ask you a pointed question here. So because these are troop choices, therefore, and you can add Outriders and say Eliminators and Eradicators into these kill teams, do you think there could be initial spamming of these units and these models which weren't initially intended?
Well, I don't think it would ever take it to the point where it'd be ridiculous, because if we look at each of the kill teams, so the first one, for example, is your Vanguard vets, bikers, and Terminators. So you could take all those into 5 or 10-man units pretty much. The kill team with the Outriders in, the Fortis ones with what's a normal squad size? 3, right?
3.
So the maximum you can take is 5. You can't take any upgrades on any of them, so I don't know if it will be broken. Outriders, I would say, are okay. I wouldn't say they're incredible, but 3 maybe don't do much. Maybe 5 do something now. And again, because you're not putting them in like a very specific chapter, like Blood Angels, which are ridiculous in combat, or White Scars, the Deathwatch don't have that same playstyle. So yes, you can take up to 5, but 3 Blood Angel ones are probably still more powerful than 5 just regular Deathwatch ones by the time you've put all the combat stats on it.
That's I haven't thought of it that way, actually. But you're right, completely right. If they were Blood Angels or a White Scar Outrider, they become very, very strong. But based on their chapter tactics and access to stratagems, etc. So no, I feel from your answer just there a lot more comfortable about seeing potentially 15 Outriders on the table, because they're not. The chapter tactics don't really lean in to improve them beyond their base stat line, which is a good stat line, but it's easily dealable.
Yeah, I mean, it makes their guns a little bit better in certain instances. Obviously, like Deathwatch are one of those armies that they want to fight in all phases of the game, probably more than a lot of other builds. They certainly shoot a lot more than my Blood Angels, but they don't hit as hard in combat.
Yeah.
Same with Eradicators, Inceptors, Aggressors. You could take all of those into 5-6-man units anyway. And then Eliminators, well, it's not like Eliminators are breaking the game at the moment, so just squeezing in another 2 Eliminators into a squad, I don't think is like I wouldn't even, if we would have saw GW come out and say, okay guys, you can take 6 Eliminators, I think that's actually more balanced than taking 6 Eradicators that can double fire.
Yeah. I would be buying all the Eliminators if that was the case, because I love them, as you well know. They're one of my favourite models, and I love a sniper rifle. But no, I think I agree with all that. So that's good. So obviously the kill team presents a lot of options, and I can imagine it's quite easy just to spend all your points on some of these really expensive kill teams. Have you got any general advice about when you're forming a kill team, the general considerations and, how many points you want to spend on these things? And, it's important to think about their role on the tabletop, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think one thing we forgot to cover at the very start of this was the Deathwatch's unique ability, which is Xenos Hunters. So they basically get to reroll hits of 1 against Xenos, and then they can also select a Force organisation slot, and you can reroll 1s against that type. So let's say you rock up to the table, Jack, and you've got loads of, intercessors troops, right, whatever. So I can go, cool, all day long, I'm going to pick troops, and I've got an inbuilt lieutenant into every single one of my squads whilst I am fighting against that Force organisation, whether I'm shooting or combat. Now, we can take kill teams one step further. So I think you need to consider the upgrades that you can make to a kill team before you start to look at a build of a kill team. So the first, or how the upgrades work, is that you can pick these once only. And a little bit like you can with like the Master, Apothecary and all that lot, you can spend, I think, 25 or 35 points, depending on which one it is, and add that to your kill team ability, so you can kind of stack your this upgrade onto a kill team. And how it works is they get to, depending on which one it is, and I think there's 5 different choices you have. Let me rephrase it. You've got 6 different choices. Each of these have an inbuilt reroll 1 against a certain type. So, for example,
is that reroll 1s to wound? Is it?
Yes, it is. Did I say hit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant
no, you
wound.
just said reroll 1s. Yeah.
Okay,
to wound.
Yeah, to wound. Yeah. So you've got that ability, which is, so let's say army-wide you're going against troops, right? But then your kill teams can have these little upgrades of 25 points, and then each of these can be designated against another type. So one of them, for example, is reroll 1s against elites. Okay, but if you have happened to have selected the Xenos Hunter chapter trait to, against that opponent, reroll elites of 1, then actually the unit that can do it, because you've spent the upgrade, now rerolls all wounds against elite. So it's kind of, because it's doubled up, you get reroll all wounds.
That's a spicy meatball.
That is a spicy meatball, mate. Yeah, you are right there. So I'm still undecided on them, if I'm being brutally honest. At first I thought, wow, this is strong. But when you start to look at, if you're going to take 4 to 5 squads of kill teams, and then all of a sudden you're going to upgrade all of these, that's an extra 120 points you're spending just to get rerolls that might be situational. So this is where a player that has played the Deathwatch a lot, and I'm talking 10 to 20 repetitions at least, and this is going to be something that I'm going to be using with our guys in our academy with the spreadsheets that I've created for them, so that they can really start to look at how often are these things actually coming up, so that the most skilled generals with the Deathwatch are going to know exactly how they want their kill teams to be specialised, along with which type of kill team they want it to be associated with.
Oh, cool.
I think it's going to be really unique. But getting back to your original question about creating a kill team, so in terms of let's think about each of these 4 kind of kill teams. You've got the first kill team with the Vanguard Vets, Terminators in, etc. The biggest option that they get is Storm Shields, so they can become quite durable, and also they can take lots of Thunderhammers, whether on Vanguard Vets or the Deathwatch Veterans or the Terminators. So you could have a really hard-hitting combat unit with like the kind of old school Marines. And then the bike can give you a bit of extra movement, so again you might want to use 1 or 2 bikes. You also, because your Deathwatch, get access to the Corvus Black Star, and this is the only unit that can go in the Corvus Black Star, and that has a model capacity of 12, I believe, but it can take bikers, Terminators, Vanguard Vets, etc. So this is an option which is going to be something that I'm going to look at playing, because there's some incredible stratagems for the Corvus to really deliver this combat hard-hitting unit. So that's the kind of way that I would be thinking about building this out. That being said, you could easily take, a unit of 10. You can take 5 of the veterans, give them the heavy stalkers, which are a little bit, sort of like a better upgraded bolter, which gets the special issue ammunition, and then takes the 5 bikes with them as well. So then all of a sudden you've got fast moving, objective secured bikes. Again, like you said, with the because they've got the core keyword and all that good stuff. So I think they're certainly using the ability to combat squad with this unit, and GW done a great job at actually saying, look, if you have 5 troops and you've got a unit of 10, you've combated squad down into 5, and you've then got 5 Terminators. Well, the Terminators, because the entire unit is Terminators, can go in deep strike.
Okay, nice, yeah.
So they've got some good abilities there. So if we look at the Fortis one, it's literally exactly the same, but to be honest, the only good options in this one are your Intercessors, obviously, because they get great damage output from their whatever rifle you want to pick. And then obviously Outriders, you could take that 5-man unit of Outriders, which could be useful, because then the 5 Intercessors can do actions for you, which you desperately need in this style list. So your Outriders can go clear units off objectives, whilst your Intercessors stay in the backfield, do objectives, do some actions for you or whatnot. So that's another way you could build out that kill team. The next one, the Indomitor, this is probably my favourite. I love Gravis. So being able to take a unit like this is incredible, and I'm probably going to try and squeeze in 2 units of these in some sort of different capacities. I still love Aggressors. I love the heavy Intercessors, and I think just adding in an Inceptor can unlock certain abilities through the use of stratagems. And then I also really, really like the Spectorus kill team. So I'm probably going to be taking one of each of these, I think, as a core, and then maybe throw in one other flavour of which I sort of prefer the most, because I think that'll give me some really nice sort of tactical flexibility. I really like the look of the Spectorus kill team with the Infiltrators, the Incursors, the Reaver, and the Eliminator. Now, the only reason why I like the Reaver option is obviously because if you have him, you can turn off other people's objective secured keyword, which means that your kill teams now are going to be really effective. Only problem with this is obviously he does not have, as a Reaver, the ability to infiltrate.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it?
So your Infiltrators, Incursors, and Eliminators can, but then he can't. So it's a bit odd that he would have to. You either take 5 of them and put them in sort of their outflank or deep strike, whatever it is. But because he doesn't have the Infiltrator, he can't infiltrate with the rest of the unit, which is exactly what you want him to be doing, right? Is infiltrating and turning off people's obsects.
Oh, that's a shame. But no, there's definitely some interesting choices in there. I like, going back to the upgrading a unit to deal with a certain function. So it could be, right, I'm going to build a kill team that's going to kill tanks. So it's going to be upgraded to deal with heavy support, for example, and then you could kit out certainly to do with that to fulfill a certain role. I like the sound of the Gravis kill teams and the Phobos kill teams working together. I think that'll be a nice looking army as well.
Yeah, and I think what you can do there is start to look at that and go, cool, well, the Eradicators, 5 of those, brilliant. Just put those in with the 5 heavy Intercessors, reroll all wounds against, like you said, heavy support or Titans, whatever. That's an easy choice there. The Eliminator one, that's worth upgrading, reroll all wounds against characters. Because then you're hitting on 2s, rerolling all wounds against, those key characters that you need to get rid of. Brilliant. You can't put a character out in the open if you've got that sort of, punch.
That threat on the board.
Yeah.
But again, it's all down to balance, isn't it? Because you could easily just run out of points with bells and whistles and not have enough guys on the ground to do the jobs that you need to do. So it's going to be interesting to get that right balance in the overall list build. But it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys on the tabletop.
Yeah, and also there's so many other ways to get reroll wounds in this list that you don't necessarily need. Yeah.
Yeah. Which we'll touch on in the next couple of sections, won't we?
Yeah.
So that's a kind of a good overall summary of what kill teams are and how they kind of work. So let's move in a bit more of the detail. It's what are the warlord traits looking like? What are your top picks there, Steve?
Too many picks. The warlord traits are ridiculous for the Deathwatch, and there is one in particular that is an absolute standout for me. So again, you've got some really nice. What I think GW have done here is where I felt like GW had punished me because of the Blood Angel stuff. I feel like they've given me a lot now with the warlord traits, because all of these warlord traits buff units pretty much anyway, and I love buffing units rather than like I don't use smash characters and stuff like that. I love warlord traits that can really leverage my army. So I'm going to run through them all because they're all incredible. The first one, you pick a battle type or a force orc type, and you reroll ones against it. Okay, now this is very good because obviously, let's say you've gone for that troop option and you're like, oh well, I really need to reroll ones against elites. Then you can select that one unit, so of your units, and then they can reroll ones elites against it. Now, this does not stack with your specialisms. So if you upgraded to be that reroll all wounds against elites, these do not stack that I'm aware of, because, and I think some people will think they will stack, but words is written, do not.
Oh, to trigger the full reroll to wound.
Yes, if it did,
Okay,
I think that's an auto include.
Yeah, that sounds pretty strong. So, and can you change that every turn, or is that is it fixed, or can you go in your command phase, the elites next turn heavy support and pick a unit? Is it flexible like that?
It is, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Next one,
right?
The next one is again. Actually, the next one I'm going to stave till the end because it's my favourite. So the one after this that I'm going to cover is basically it's an aura, and you do not get cover against any core units within 6 of this warlord.
That's great. When your Deathwatch like bolt guns and small arms, it leans in very well with that.
Yep, you've basically turned your army into an Imperial Fist army.
Yep, beautiful.
Just turn off their cover.
At the cost of one warlord trait.
Yeah, it's the cover saving throw, though, so it doesn't turn off dents or anything like that.
Okay. But still, very, very strong.
Yeah. The next one, again, an aura. You can do actions and still make ranged attacks, which is so good for the Deathwatch because they lack, multiple amounts of units.
Yeah, that's big. When you've got these big, expensive kill teams, the last thing you want to do is waste the shooting phase when they're trying to raise a banner. So, it says it's an aura as well.
Yeah.
So with careful positioning, you could have 2 units putting up 2 banners while still shooting, if you can get your coherency working and your model position right. So very strong.
Yep, absolutely. Then the next one is you can take a relic and then take an additional relic. One of the digital weapons, mastercrafted weapons and stuff, which there's probably some clutch little combos there, but I haven't really looked into that too much because it doesn't really buff much of the rest of the army. And then the next one after that is basically you kind of get the old school no they shall know no fear back, and also in your command phase select one friendly core unit and you gain OBSEC, which again is okay. And if you already have it, then you count as double. So now your kill teams are going to count as double the amount of models for OBSEC, which again is good. And that's aura as well. So you've got an aura and then also select one. That's a 2-part warlord trait. But my favourite one is called the Paragon of their chapter. Now, as I said earlier, each of these Deathwatch characters have come from a founding chapter. So what you can do is look at the warlord traits in the Space Marine Codex and pick one of those. So you can't pick one from, one of the, let's say, Raven Guard supplement codexes, but you can just take the Raven Guard one that is in the Space Marine Codex, and there are some incredible standouts for me that I can see working with the sort of tricksy nature of the Deathwatch. So shall I run through some of my top combos with these?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So the first one is the Dark Angels. where you can, obviously normally it rolls back, right? So if you're in tactical, you can put a unit in Devastator.
Yep.
And if you're in assault, you can roll back to tactical. So this is really cool when you can, if you've only got that one unit that is, going to get any leverage out of the heavy doctrine or the Devastator doctrine, and you want to start in tactical, then okay, cool, I'll pop this on and then I'll just roll back to that one friendly unit that I want to put in Devastator doctrine. Cool.
Nice.
So you can do some nice little tricky things there. The next one I like is the Raven Guard one. This is probably the trixiest of them. One of the biggest problems is a delivery system, in my opinion, for the Watchmaster. And because he's quite static and the rest of the army can deep strike or redeploy, the Raven Guard one allows him to take off the table and then come back on again in the next turn. So you can put him exactly kind of where you want him to be. And then obviously when you get to your next turn, you can do your command bits and bobs. So there could be some elements there which, become really, really useful with him, or any auras that just are in play automatically. So any aura-based things are going to work really well with him. You wouldn't be able to do the select a unit, but you'd be able to get your reroll ones because that's an aura. So you'd have to think very carefully about it. Or maybe you want to transport your apothecary somewhere else on the table to pick up another unit. You could definitely do that. And there's also a strategy.
Or a librarian.
Yes, a librarian. So there's, you want that null zone in a specific place, not a problem. Blip him over. So,
that sounds good.
The other one I like is also the Imperial Fist one. The Deathwatch kind of want to take cover and they want to sit in cover, really upgrade their armor and get the benefits of cover whilst holding those objectives. And then obviously you can minus, or you can ignore -1 AP. So it's going to make your elite units a lot more survivable. So I think for me, they're the warlord traits that I'd be looking to take. And there's a really nice stratagem which allows you to double up on warlord traits once you've picked your warlord. So actually you can take 4 warlord traits because you can take your free one, pick the extra 2, and then you can double stack on another character. And then obviously you've got the classic selfless healer as well. You've got the other warlord trait which you could still get access to, which is
so it's all the ones up.
Yeah,
at the Space Marine book now, you've got all the access to those warlord traits as well for your chapter command guys. If you're looking to bring them, like the apothecary or the chaplain or the librarian, you could look to give those guys warlord traits as well as not just the Deathwatch tree.
Yep, absolutely.
Which will be the same for the relics and psychic powers and stratagems as well.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That was a nice summary of the warlord traits. So again, let's move on to the relics. I've had a look at those, and there's some very good ones. Some I'm quite scared of coming up against. On a touch on one that I'm worried about is the Dominus Aegis, the 5+ invuln bubble. That seems very good, and I'm not sure I'm going to kind of come up with a strategy to deal with that if there's lots of kill teams on the table.
Yeah, all of a sudden, if you've got heavy intercessors and eradicators with a 5+ invulnerable save, just makes them a lot harder to shift, right? So this is a relic where you have to put this on, and I just looked at the wording, basically a storm shield or one of the new Indomitus shields, but you can also put it on because there's been a bit of a debate is do you take a chapter master or do you take a watchmaster, because a watchmaster unlocks a few cool stratagems for you. But he can't take a shield, but who can is a chapter champion.
Okay, nice.
He can take the old combat shield, and that can be upgraded to the Dominus Aegis, which is nice.
That's cool. Yeah, so I think that was my favourite one in there. But my second is actually the Tome of Ectoclades, so that seems very strong as well.
Yeah, so the Tome of Ectoclades is basically you pick it's once per game only, you pick a Force Org, and then for the rest of your turn, units within 6, reroll all wounds against it.
Data sheet.
Sorry, a data sheet, yeah. A data sheet,
it's a little bit more specific, but in certain matchups, if someone's looking to spam something, bang, you pick out that data sheet, and then you got the reroll wounds aura. That's, I think, it won't come up in every game, but in certain games, that's going to be absolutely clutch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Seal of Oath in the Ultramarines list.
Ultras, yeah.
And you have to declare that unit pre-game, or like kind of just after deployment. And once that unit is dead, that's it. Whereas I could say, cool, for the rest of this turn, I'm going to pick Necron Warriors. So it doesn't matter what Necron Warrior unit I'm shooting at, I'm just re-rolling wounds against it. Or I could go, cool, I'm going to pick that Knight Castellan, and now all my Eradicators are re-rolling wounds against it, and then the rest of my army's re-rolling wounds against it for that turn. So there's so many cool options because it is data sheet. Yeah, great, fantastic. I think that's a really nice utility that, if I'm honest, every single Deathwatch player needs to be taking that relic. And then the third relic, which I think is also a no-brainer to take, is one I used to absolutely love in the previous book, which is the Beacon Angelus, and you can basically redeploy an infantry or bike unit. You have to redeploy within 6 and also 9 inches away. There is one slight change. You cannot do this in the same turn that you came down from reserves, which you could before. So you could bring down a captain with a jump pack, and then you could redeploy a unit to him. You can't do that anymore, so it has to be in different turns. But go on, what are you gonna say?
So the unit the character's got the relic, and it's got to be a unit within 6 inches of him that he picks up. Is that correct?
No, so it is. It's not like the Veil of Darkness.
Okay.
So once per battle, if the bearer did not arrive his reinforcements this turn, it can activate the beacon. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase, you can select one friendly Deathwatch infantry or Deathwatch biker unit that is either on the battlefield and did not arrive as reinforcement this turn on the battlefield or is in teleportarium chamber or is in strategic reserve. Remove that unit. So basically any unit that's already on the table. So you could just literally hide a unit in your backfield, and you can bring this unit over to wherever you want it to be.
Cool. So yeah, that's still good. Very strong. I like it. It's a nice little trick.
But yeah, you move it to the position of your chaplain on bike who can move 20 inches. Yeah, nice.
Just a little sneak peek of some of your top tricks and combos out.
That's definitely going to be one, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other relics you want to stand out to you there, Steve?
I mean, there's one, but you get +1 against fly keyword, +1 to hit against fly keyword, which is okay, but they're never going to take away from those top 3.
No, it's nice to have. I think that the fly word is not so prevalent these days at the moment. That's probably down to the general meta of the armies that are coming from a tabletop. Like for example, Marines don't have a great deal of fly across the army, but if Eldar were red hot, then that would be a very good relic.
Yeah, no, I agree completely.
All right, cool. So the psychic powers. Oh man, these things are good.
Yeah, so the psychic powers in the Space Marine book are great anyway. And then there is a combination I've come up with, which I think is ludicrous, but it does require taking 2 librarians. But their powers, obviously you get the 6 extra powers. They're all okay. There are some incredible ones though, which I'm going to go over. I'm not going to talk about anything that just does mortal wounds, because we've seen this kind of stuff before. It's not really unique.
It's very vanilla, isn't it? It's a nice to have as an option, but they're certainly not the ones you're going to take, I don't think. Yeah,
there's 5 here that are pretty decent. One of them is you basically select one of your friendly Deathwatch units. You can Overwatch on 5s. You can fight first as well, and also you add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So yeah, you can really buff up one of your units, which is great.
That's 1 power with 3 different abilities that comes with it. It's cracking.
And it goes off in a 6.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. So yeah, real good for that one. The next one is another blessing, and you basically select 1 infantry or Deathwatch biker unit with an 18, and you basically get a 5+ feel no pain. That.
Yeah. What's the cast on?
A 6.
Again, though, it's very reasonable power, but So sorry, that's just one unit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too bad. It's just like Catalyst for mids. It's obviously very good, but it's been in the game a while. It's that should be fairly manageable to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be strong. It's going to be good, that one, with my heavy intercessor spam list with all 5+ feel no pain and the 5+ infrontable save. Happy days. Yeah. So I really like that one. And then the next one is this one's okay, but you basically, within 18, you pick an enemy unit and you -1 from their attack's characteristics. And also, they have to declare against, if they're going to make a charge, it has to be the closest enemy unit of them. So you just put forward I've got this little cheap unit of servitors in my list, put them at front, cool, you have to charge them now.
Hold on. So you can cast the power to fight first, and then you can cast the power that you have to charge the unit that fights first?
No, you have to charge a unit that is the closest enemy. So it says each time a charge is declared for that unit, only the closest enemy unit can be selected as the target of that charge.
But then the first power that makes you fight first.
Yeah.
Would you fight before the charger?
No, because I think fight first is still after the charger unit still gets to fight first.
Okay, fine. Yeah, because that would be horrendously broken if you're going against a combat army that doesn't have any shooting, that you could do those two powers together. That would be pretty nasty. But now again, regardless of that little combo, it's the very strong powers.
Well, one thing that obviously now with the charge phase, you can't go within an inch of a unit that you didn't declare.
Yeah.
So what you can do is intermingle your squads so that if an enemy wants to charge one of them, they have to charge both, because they wouldn't be able to get outside of an inch of either. Do you see where I'm going with this? So what you can do is cast the power, and then the knight couldn't even charge?
Yeah, I think it would be situational on A, the size of your model base, and B, the charging model's base, isn't it? I do remember this because I remember we had that game and I played my orcs in that October, and I tried to charge them with a Deathwatch, and it didn't go too well.
Yeah, of that stratagem they've got has been a little bit toned down, you'll be pleased to know, but still.
No, I've seen it, and I think it's got better, but...
Really? Okay. Well, okay. Fair enough.
We'll move on to that in a minute. Is there any more powers that they're standing out?
Yeah, so you can just turn off another character's auras. Pretty handy.
What's the range of that one?
So this one's 18. You reduce it by 3, and if you cast it on greater than the character's leadership characteristic, then it turns it off.
It's obviously a very strong power, but your librarian is danger close then.
Yeah.
So it's potentially a trade-off that you turn off an aura of your opponent for a turn, but then your librarian gets picked up. So, no, that's okay.
But it's not the best one. And this next one is the best one. The Mantle of the Shadow. And it goes off, you put it on an infantry unit, Deathwatch infantry unit, within 12 of your caster, goes off on a 6, and until the start of your next psychic phase, if that unit does not shoot or declare a charge, enemy models cannot target that unit with ranged attacks unless they are within 12 or it is the closest eligible unit.
Okay, that sounds quite tasty. I'll ask you what I think is probably now a stupid question. Do you think a librarian is a must-take for a Deathwatch?
Yes.
There you go. That's that. When I read those powers, I looked at it and go, "You need librarian."
You need a librarian. Yeah.
You may need more than one librarian.
You may need two.
I feel there's going to be a real fight for the HQ slots. If you're not, you might have to start considering opening up additional detachments, mightn't you?
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, you're right. The only you don't need a lieutenant for a start because you get those built in.
No, but just going from what we discussed here, you got your librarian, which you may want 1 or 2, the chaplain on the bike potentially, maybe a captain, chapter master, or watchmaster. So there is good competition in those spaces, isn't there?
Yeah, no, they're really. There is, like you said, some really good competition for them. So you might want to, like you said, open up another patrol, which is easy to do with Deathwatch, right? Because your whole army's troops anyway, so it's just going to cost you those extra 2 CPs.
Which, to be fair, is not much of a tax at all when you're with the amount of CP in the game now.
No, because that's the great thing about Deathwatch now. They are getting so much more CP than they've ever had before.
Yeah. Okay, well, after I've just got to recover for a second from those psychic powers, and we'll move on to stratagems, and let's talk about the Orc one first. So, I think it's now a lot better than it used to be.
Okay, why do you think that? So I tell you what it used to be.
Yeah, tell us what it used to be.
So for every model in Overwatch you killed, you removed an inch off.
For one unit.
Of a unit, yeah.
And what's it changed to?
So now it is. Now bear in mind, I've played against Orc armies where they were 2 inches away, and I made them fail a charge by removing like 9 models, right?
The chump over here. Oh
yeah. So now it is the Deathwatch units that were selected as a target of this charge can fire Overwatch at that Orc unit. Until the end of the phase, if any models from that Orc unit are destroyed, the result is Overwatch, subtract 2.
So that's all Orc charges on any Deathwatch unit. Is how I read that?
No, it's of that Orc unit. So you can only take 2 inches off an Orc unit.
Okay. If that's the case, then it's pretty garbage. Well,
but it's 2
it does
CPs.
Stop. Yeah.
Go on, what are you going to say?
To be fair, what it would stop is units from deep strike. It's going to proper mitigate that charge. But I thought it was all Orc units that declare a charge in that charge phase.
No, but what it does also mean is, you're dead right about it. It's going to stop things like the jump being as powerful.
Yeah.
Or that, whatever it might be. But it's not going to stop a Gorkanaut because obviously you have to actually kill one. Now, it does mean that you can now Overwatch with another unit. So you can spend 1 CP to Overwatch normally. And then this one, 2 CPs allows you to Overwatch again.
Okay, that makes more sense now. Because if it was just 1 unit minus 2 to charge, if you killed the models, that seemed too much. But actually, you're paying a CP to Overwatch, aren't you? And then it's got another CP built into it to then minus the range off the charge. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it means that when you're an Orc player, you can't just do that classic, I'll send that chaff unit in first because, that's his Overwatch eaten up. No problem, you send your chaff in, I'll kill it, and then I can Overwatch again.
Yeah.
Because actually these stratagems are, if you did send the first one in, there's nothing wrong with me playing this stratagem after.
Yeah. Okay. That's decent.
Yeah, it's all right. But yeah, they've got... Shall I go over quickly the other ones?
Yeah, let's go for the Xenos special ones.
So 1 CP, add 1 attack to anything every time you fight a Xenos model. It says Tyranids, Eldar, Orc, Necrons, or Tau Empire. Do Genestealer Cult have the Tyranids keyword? That's my only question. I think they do.
Pass. I don't know off the top of my head, but
I need to check that. As I was just reading that, if the Genestealer Cult don't have the Tyranids keyword, then obviously there's nothing in this book that is actually any good against Genestealer Cult, which might get FAQ'd in the future, but I'm sure they do get the Tyranids keyword anyway, because obviously that's how you soup them together, isn't it? So I'm sure they do. Mm-hmm. The next one is against Eldar. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Deathwatch unit from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of that phase, each time a model from that unit makes a ranged attack against an Eldar unit, you can ignore any hit and ballistic skill modifiers. So,
what I find interesting about that stratagem is reference to ballistic skill modifier, which is not very common in the game at all, and it's it's in reference to Eldari. So maybe if I'm going to put my tin hat on here, that the Eldar may get a form of additional minuses to hit via ballistic skill modifiers to help their survivability, which they are massively struggling with at the moment.
And guys, we're going to end the podcast right there on that bombshell. Yeah, ballistic skill modifiers for Eldar, eh? So we might see, because it's not, obviously you can only get -1 to hit, right? And we were all wondering, well, if it's -1 to hit capped and you always hit on a 6, what's the point? But now with ballistic skill modifiers, maybe if you're shooting against that Elatok unit, maybe you count as ballistic skill 4 if you're a Space Marine, and then you can also put lightning fast on them, so then you're now hitting on 5s.
Yeah, you know, and which was fine for Eldari. The -2 you could take on the chin. It was when it was getting to -3, -4. So maybe that's a way that they're looking to police it. So you only get down to, and I don't think it'll be as widespread as it was before as well. But it was an interesting wording, and I've noticed that in this book, and also in some of the stuff in the Forge World book as well. You can start to look at some of the way that they've built those data sheets up and the wording they're using to start having a bit of a think about how that may affect your faction moving forward.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. There's another one which basically means that you can, every time you roll an unmodified hit roll of a 6, it automatically wounds against a Tyrannid Synapse unit. Whether you shoot or fight, that's 1 CP, that's not bad. And then obviously I've already gone over the Orc one, and then the Tau one, I think it's the same. Use a strategy.
It is the same, yeah.
Yeah, so you can basically drop their marker lights now, which is great. How do you feel about that, being a Tau player?
Well, it tells me that marker lights still a thing, so I hate that strategy. But Tau players, you've played Deathwatch. What you don't do is stack all your marker lights on one unit straight away, and let that stratagem take value. You split your marker lights out, so there's never really value in if the Deathwatch player using it. But it's a great little trick, and it's just part of that fluff with the Deathwatch. They've got these little counters against the different Xenos factions.
Yeah, and then a couple of the other standout stratagems. This is where I think, or why you want to Watchmaster, so you can change that Xenos Hunter chapter tactic. So again, you can only use a stratagem one, it's 2 CPs, and you can only use it if you've got a Watchmaster on the battlefield. But let's say you've killed all the troops that you wanted to kill, and now you need to start killing elites, you can just swap over to the elite now to get those reroll ones against it, which is cool. You've then got other things like if you've got they've changed Black Shields, they don't automatically heroically intervene, you've got to spend a CP now. You can get, for example, before when you made your kill team, if you had a Vanguard Vet, you could fall back and shoot because you acted as if you had the fly keyword. Now, if you've got an Inceptor or a Vanguard Vet for 1 CP, you can fall back and still shoot. If you've got a bike in your unit, you can fall back and still charge, which is cool. So that's again reasons why you want to have a mixed kill team, is so that you can unlock these abilities.
And I think a lot of people might have gripes about that being removed from a data sheet ability to a stratagem, but I think it is such a good step in overall balance. Having an army that's very effective at shooting that could all fall back and shoot is very strong. And certain armies just can't deal with it. You try and tag some stuff. It's like certain combat armies, like a Gene Stealer cult, for example, that very squishy. They're kind of relying on that tagging to try and survive the game. But I think it's a lot more fair now. It's just controlled to one unit. It gives you more tactical decisions you have to make as a general there.
Yeah, and the Deathwatch player's got more CP, so it should be fine. And the Teleportarium's still there, so in a Strike Force game you can put 2 units in Teleport, which is a Deathwatch Infantry or Dreadnought unit, or Biker unit, which is great. I mean, you used to be able to do 3, but now it's 2. It's not a problem because obviously there's less units on the table because the forces are not as large as they used to be. And your Gravis Guild kill team's going to cost about 600 points, so you're going to have 2 of them. Absolutely, yeah. It's straight in the Teleportarium. Thank you very much. But my favourite one, 2 CPs, and I think I'm going to use this every single turn. It's called the Brotherhood of the Veterans. Use a stratagem in your command phase. Select one Deathwatch unit from your army, then select one chapter tactic or successor tactic, see Codex Space Marines in brackets, until the end of your turn. Models in the unit have that chapter tactic or successor tactic instead of the Xenos Hunters.
All right, decent.
Let that sink in. Oh, you've tagged my whole army. Ultramarine, fall back and shoot. Thank you.
It's just for one unit, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but
that's fine. That's fine.
I could put a stratagem on something else. There's ways and means. But yeah.
No, yeah. Obviously, there's it. Well, taking a fall back and shoot thing, for example, say your whole army was tagged, and you need to get yourself back out of it. All of a sudden, you can use the stratagem, the Deathwatch stratagem, to fall back and shoot, and then use that 2 CP stratagem to pick up the Ultramarine chapter tactic, to then do it as well if you needed to dig yourself out of a hole in a certain turn.
And when you've only got 2 units, mate, that's your whole army.
Yeah, happy days. Sorted.
Yeah, and then that's why you need the kill team, which is maybe better in combat, so then you can fall back and charge with that one. So, or you've got the nice ATV stratagem where you can fall back your ATVs out of combat and shoot. There's options.
Yeah, so you can still certainly build an army that could all fall back and shoot if you so wished.
Or you could have that key unit, like I'm thinking of running is a unit in a Corvus Blackstar with a bike. So he can go 20, 2 Vanguard Vets, which can then help you with your coherency, all coming out of a Corvus Blackstar, and then
You said Corvus Blackstar?
Yeah, mate, Corvus Blackstar, yeah. Crazy, I know, yeah, but yeah, and then you can have White Scars advancing and charging kill team pretty much with as many Thunderhammers and Power Fists as you want, really. So with a massive threat range of moving 23 inches before the rest, before you charge. But the reason why the Corvus is back with vengeance is use a stratagem at the start of the first battle round. Select one Corvus Blackstar unit from your army until the end of the battle round. That unit cannot be selected as a target for ranged attacks unless it is the closest eligible target to the firing model.
Incredible.
Absolutely unreal.
And to be honest, I hope that stratagems like that become more common on planes, just so they become valid again. The Corvus Blackstar is a great looking model, isn't it? It's interesting. You kind of want to run it, but before you just knew if you put it on a table it'd get destroyed straight away. So I think that's a great stratagem. It's obviously very powerful, and you can do lots of tricks that you're just discussing there with the units inside and things like that. But I'm hoping it's a flavour of things to come in terms of aircraft and making them more playable.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's clutch. I'm definitely going to try it, see how I get on with it, and see how much movement I can get out of that unit. But maybe it's just a gimmick, and then actually you decide there's better builds. But there's another one I really like, and it's called Special Issue Loadout. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when you select a Deathwatch infantry unit from your army to shoot. So this is obviously one of your kill teams. Until the end of that phase, bolt weapons, excluding bolt sniper rifles, so you can't use this on the old Eliminators, unfortunately.
No, that sounds rubbish.
Without the special issue ammunition ability, that model in the unit is equipped with, it gains the special ammunition and their type becomes changed to heavy 1. So I'm going to use this 2 CPs, which is actually going to be a 4 CP expenditure this turn for me. I'm going to take 10 heavy veterans.
Heavy intercessors.
Heavy intercessor veterans, yeah.
Yeah.
So they are the strength 5 -2, heavy 1, 2 damage weapons anyway. So you're not losing out on any of the, number of shots. I'm going to put Imperial Fists on them, so then I get exploding 6s. And then I'm going to go for the special issue ammunition. One of them allows you to add +1 damage to that attack. So now they're strength 5, -3 because I can put them in Devastator Doctrine, and then also be flat 3 damage. And then this is the unit that I would probably make the kill team to be reroll all wounds against elites. So whether I'm playing against Aggressor Spam or Blade Guard or whatever elite option that they have, maybe it's Custodes, whatever. Most elite options in the game are around that sort of 3 wound mark, about toughness 4, 5, whether it's Wraith Blades. There's lots of different options. Pump that in, and you're going to do some work. I think 10 shots, exploding 6s, re-rolling misses, and then it's going to be strong, I think.
That's tasty. That's tasty. I think that segues us into our tips, tricks, and combos. So we've kind of sprinkled a few of them throughout this podcast, haven't we? But one that I quite like is the whole manipulating doctrines, which Deathwatch are very good at. So that their overall ability to be able to choose when doctrines are active is great. So if your opponent hides on turn 1, you don't have to waste a Devastator Doctrine. That's massive. But then Deathwatch also got a strat to choose select a doctrine for a certain unit. And the other thing I like is the core Space Marine stratagem to activate all doctrines. I think kill teams can make great use of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah. Because you've got so many mixes in there, so and that's what I said about, like, you have that Dark Angel Warlord, and all of a sudden he's helping you out in certain instances as well. There's some good plays in this book that I'm so fascinated by it that there's too many tricks and combos that I think you could put into a list, which from a list building perspective is incredible. So do you want me to go over my most broken one that I found so far?
Yeah. Let's hit us with your most broken one. Let's go for it.
So imagine this. You rock up to the table and your opponent's got a Phobos Librarian and then another Librarian, right? And he's got a Corvus Black Star. So what you can do is make one unit with the Shrouding spell so it cannot be shot, okay? You have your heavy intercessors on your front line, and if they're hidden, brilliant. So if your opponent can't even draw a line of sight, or maybe you've got that 5-man unit of Eliminators are up front, and then you've just got this 5 or your Spectorus kill team somewhere else. But you've got one unit at the front that's ideally hidden, and if you can't hide it, then obviously it's got a 5+ Feel No Pain, 5+ Invulnerable Save. You can put Transhuman on it, and also give it, if it's damage 1, where you ignore, you get +1 to your save and things. There's loads of ways to really buff this up, okay? But then you're going to basically, on your Spectorus kill team, which is your Infiltrators and your Eliminators, you can make them so they can't be shot because of Shrouding. What you're then going to do is play the Cast an X power that we spoke about earlier, and then you're going to make another unit untargetable. For example, this could be a unit like Vanguard Vets, all with Storm Shield's Power Fist. So they're not going to declare a charge turn 1, but they just want to move up the table freely without being shot. Okay, so it's a really good delivery system for this unit. So now you've got 2 units that can't be shot. Then you put a Corvus Black Star behind these 3, and then also now he can't be shot, which has also got another kill team inside. So you've got a Corvus with a kill team inside that can't be shot, another kill team that can't be shot, and then your other kill team that can't be shot, stood behind your unit that is near on unkillable. Yeah, that's the combo.
Yeah. I'm calling it now. Items for the FAQ watch. But as it stands at the moment, that's an incredible... it's an incredible combo. Absolutely horrible to come up against, and let's hope it gets FAQ before I have to come and play you.
I mean, the thing is good for a turn, but it's when you go, cool, I'm going to go in Assault Doctrine so I don't waste any of the good ones for me this turn.
Yeah.
And I've got some units in Deep Strike that you can't shoot, and then in the unit whatever's stood at the back that I'm going to make can't be shot, I'm just going to Beacon Angelus across like those Vanguard Vets, give them the +2 charge from your Chaplain. So, I mean, it's a cool combination. It's one of those things that sounds real sexy, but is it actually going to be impractical on the table? I don't know. It does mean you need a Phobos Librarian and a normal Librarian. Yeah. And then obviously, like I said, there's a lot... Yeah.
It might be too much down that combo to all of a sudden that you've got this one trick think that, okay, yeah, you do that for a turn. I'm just going to sit and hide, and then you've run out of CP, and you haven't got enough points left on the board to take a rest to get proper ball control and stuff like that. So the theory's great, but yeah, the practicalities might not work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's where playtesting, and it'll be fun. It's fun to sort of play around with those sort of ideas, right? But I think
I think Joe texted me earlier, says he's really interested in playing that list. So you've got someone to play on that one.
He was like, I can't wait to get stuck in with this one. Yeah, with my Imperial Guard gun line. Yeah. I think there's some other, like I said, with the heavy intercessors, that's definitely going to be a combination I'm going to build into. I'd be tempted to put one Inceptor in that list, so you've got 9 heavy intercessors, and just having that one Inceptor, obviously for that turn when you need it, you can fall back and shoot with that unit. So I really like that ability. Obviously we spoke about the Outriders. It sounds good on paper, having 5 Outriders that are OBSEC, but is it that good? I don't know. Whereas what you can do is take, and obviously this missed the old FAQ, right? Which was interesting for the old Apothecary, but nonetheless, you could take the old 3 ATVs in your backfield, just hide them, chill them, and then redeploy them with the Beacon and Jealous turn 1, and then all of a sudden, they're putting out some damage. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that's exactly what you want in your phase turn 1 is 3 ATVs that can fall back and shoot, which again you can. I don't see why. Maybe there's some stacks there where you could give them a 5+ feel no pain, because they're a biker unit, right? So they don't have the core keyword, but they do have the biker keyword. So that does. So you wouldn't be able to get the 5+ invulnerable save, but you might be able to get the 5+ feel no pain. Yes, you can. You can get the 5+ feel no pain on them, which is pretty good.
Not the 5 up invulnerable, it's garbage, mate. I put that in the bin.
Yeah.
No, but like ATVs are a great looking unit. They're aggressively priced, and if you can start slingshot them across the board of any kind of defensive buff, they'll be a solid unit.
Yeah, if they're, or it could be. I mean, what I'm probably just going to lean into is 5 aggressors. Great. Put them in a kill team, 5 heavy intercessors in the back with 5 of them, redeploy them forward. Could be, Plasma Inceptors are still great, aren't they? There's just literally, pick a unit, stick it in, it'll do work. And I think that's the beauty of this book, is that there's just so many tricks and combinations, and you can really tool out these units to be exactly, the sort of the knife or scalpel that you want it to be, and that's just really, really exciting. So I think we will see those builds where you've got 3 units of 5 intercessors and stuff, and 3 units of 5 combat squadding Outriders, and maybe that list does work. Maybe the points are so efficient you can run 5 of those kill teams. But one of the things I am going to do on the Academy is go a full deep dive into the chapter approved rules for the secondaries and how all of these things can start to come in together. And then what I'm also going to do on the Academy is get out all the models that we have. I'm going to go over some deployment types, because deploying the Deathwatch is absolutely crucial. What you put in reserve, what you don't, and this is really where you want to lean into the play style of the army. So I'm going to be doing a full army review of my list, and I'm going to put together 3 different types of lists for obviously the students on there, with different deployment styles for it, which secondaries you should take, which ones you should ignore, which ones it plays well into, which chapter tactics and traits you want to be building for, and also which specialisms you want to take on what types of builds and why. So I'm going to be putting all of that content over onto the Academy. And also stay tuned, as we've got some really good Black Friday deals coming out soon. So stay tuned for that, as it wouldn't be November if we didn't obviously do a little bit of a Black Friday sale.
Very nice.
And remember, for everybody that does sign up to the Academy, or should I say, proceeds will be going towards Movember. For each student that signs up, I donate a certain amount of money per student that signs up to Movember, as they're obviously a fantastic cause. And also I've decided all YouTube revenue that we make through YouTube ads will all be going to Movember charity this month as well. So I'll look back at the end of November to see how much money we generated, and I'll donate that in because we're so close to our target of £1,000. So I think we're literally £16 off it. So we should easily hit that our target.
Let's have a big drive in November. Let's see how far we can get it. So it's obviously for a great cause. So no, it's great that that's all coming together.
Yeah, and I think it should be exciting to see what the Space Wolves we're going to cover next. And again, I'll do all the same for the Academy. So there'll be army reviews, deep dives, unit combination stacks, and most importantly, we're going to have to teach the guys how to beat the Deathwatch, unfortunately. So that's all to come as well on the Academy. So anyway, guys, well, first of all, Jack, thanks so much for your time today.
No, really enjoyable. It's exciting time with the Deathwatch book, and with the supplements starting to come in thick and fast. I imagine the pace will be increased in the new year as well. So lots of stuff to look forward to.
No, honestly, you did a fantastic job, and I think we really covered some good stuff, and very excited about all these new books coming out. And then we've got Blood Angels soon as well, which I cannot wait to do. I'll probably do a masterclass on Blood Angels, which I'll probably put out to the public, because obviously that will be extremely interesting, I think, for people. So anyway, guys, thanks so much. Remember, if you want to check out the Academy, head over to our website and you can see all of the offers there. And if you want to see one of the lists that I'm going to put together for the Deathwatch, then all you need to do is head over to www.vanguardtactics.com/blog/S2EP13, and then you can see my list, and all the links to our Movember charity are there. And also, if you want to get yourself a place on our Academy, then the link will be there for that as well. So anyway, take care, guys, and leave us a great review if you've liked this show, and we'll see you next week on the Competitive 40k podcast. Take care.
This podcast is brought to you by the Vanguard Tactics Academy, the only online coaching course for Warhammer 40,000. At the VT Academy, not only do we help you win more games in the right spirit of the game, we'll build confidence and we'll help you get more value and enjoyment from your hobby, and take you through step-by-step guides for everything from starting your first army to tournament play to advanced tactics. Sign up at vanguardtactics.com.